In this video, I demonstrate how to use the hybrid dictionary collection within your applications. Also, if you haven't done this already, I would strongly recommend you take a look at the Intro to Collections video 2030 for more information about the hybrid dictionary and all of the collections that implement the iDictionary interface. So here I've taken the liberty of creating a new application, a Windows VB console application called Hybrid VB, and got a few notes about the hybrid dictionary. If you recall from our intro video, the good thing about the hybrid is that you can start off as a list dictionary and gain the benefits of the list dictionary, and as it grows, it becomes internally a hash table. There's nothing you have to do in order to make this happen. We're going to exercise this to see if there's any change that we can detect, but for the most part it all happens internally, and there's not a whole lot that you can do with it. Now the downside to this is that because it starts out as a list dictionary potentially, you're not going to get all the robust features of the hash table. So you're going to lose some of those features like the get value and the get key, where you're able to pass them in and just find things in the hash table. But it's a pretty neat trade-off, because if you don't need that functionality, you can always be sure that you're using the most optimized version of a collection that supports the iDictionary interface. So the first thing we'll talk about is the overloaded constructors. There's basically a bunch of different versions, but they all boil down to two distinct properties. One is the initial size, and this is important because if you put in a number less than 10, then it will start out as a list dictionary. Otherwise, it'll just start off as a hash table. So if this is important to you, you'll want to start off with a small number, and then as you add more, it'll just automatically turn over into a hash table. And then there's a case-insensitive property that can be passed in on the constructor, and really that's used for how the hash is controlled internally, whether it should treat two keys with the same capitalization or different capitalization the same. And it pulls from the culture info regarding the casing rules. So I'd probably not touch this unless you were doing some things where you really need to optimize your use of the hash table when it gets into that mode. So the other thing that you need to understand is that you find the hybrid dictionary in the specialized namespace, system collection specialized. Here we passed in our constructor, which is an integer, and telling it that it is an initial size of 3, and I create and add 5 car objects to my hybrid dictionary, at which point I loop through and display all the keys. And then I add, I don't know, probably about, 8, 9 more, and then loop through the keys once again. Now, I put a breakpoint on the end sub so that we could take a look at this. Let's go ahead and run it. And I want you to notice something, that first of all, the keys are listed in the order in which we added them to the hybrid when there are less than 10. But in our second loop, you'll notice here that the order has changed completely, and that it doesn't really follow any kind of pattern, or at least doesn't to the human eye at any rate. The computer obviously has a way that it is storing these that is optimized. So notice that first of all, the order between these two have been switched around, and that our Grand Voyager is next. The Prism is way down here, and the Ultima has been mixed in down here. So the way that the hash table has been implemented when we're in hash table mode is a little bit different than what we saw in the hash table video. But at any rate, we can see that there is some type of hashing going on here. So it's a pretty simple video. There's not a whole lot of functionality to really demonstrate. Most of what we see here is in the hybrid dictionary. We've already covered in the list dictionary and also in the hash table videos. But just knowing that it exists and that it always gives you the optimal